There are times when we feel like suddenly some external factor is triggering an alarm in us, one that only translates into a whistle in the ears that can be so sharp that we feel that it leaves us deaf for a few minutes. This comes without notice and without fulfilling any formalism, only appears and manages to leave us at times a little confused, especially when we already manage to corroborate that there are no physical causes that cause it. And it is normal that the first thing we think that we have some kind of infection in our ears, or that for some reason our sense of hearing is failing. But the truth behind this could be more associated with spiritual causes. As it has become normal to see many people experience this, and not understand the reasons for this sudden manifestation of a non-physical type, we have given ourselves the task of making a small list detailing some of the reasons that may lead your being to experience this, so that we have a comprehension beyond health about this recurring symptom. Number 1. You've begun to develop clear-sightedness. The subject of the contact between our earthly plane and the spiritual plane, where our relatives and friends who have departed before us are located, has been regulated. And in fact, beyond the fear that some may demonstrate, the interest that the human being in general has in being able to know that the soul of his loved ones is in well-being borders us to resort to these channels of communication. Although many times this same desire has led certain people to take advantage of others and their love, and it has become regular that there are known cases in which some fraudsters end up embezzling the name of those who actually possess the gift of clairvoyance. But beyond that, everyone wants to be able to experience this form of communication with that other plane, not knowing that in many cases they themselves have that ability, and it's something that can be announced through the whistle in the ears. As we know, the plane on which those who are going are situated is completely different from ours, and therefore it is aligned with vibrational frequencies other than ours. However, in the midst of this plane, our beloved beings are able to see us, and if we are aligning in a correct way, they will even seek to contact us. From there, continue to provide us with guides and messages of compassion. But we are not all in the capacity to be able to decipher these messages, much less that they reach us with clarity. Only a few, who can know the beginning of the development of this gift, by the appearance of that sharp whistle, which goes accompanied by a frostbite that runs through the body. When this is the reason for our noise, it can present itself both in one and in both ears, and it manages to intuit from the depths of us how something else wants to give us messages and contact our being, feeling at times as if the presence of that other being was close to us, even knowing that it is no longer in this earthly plane. Number 2. It is the warning of a spiritual type attack. When we refer to this type of attacks, we speak very punctually of a psychic attack by another being on this plane that seeks to harm us or stop our progress. And although many do not believe in the possibility of harming others in this way, energetically, it is possible. Bad faith and distorted intentions are two things that exist, that are real, and that although we would like to ignore as part of our world and society, they are ultimately there latent. Nothing compares to the impressive way in which a being living in unconsciousness is able to believe that harming another will somehow make him better or give him a status of superiority, for although we know that this is completely wrong to think, it still remains something that exists in the minds of a few. This false idea, loaded with emotions and thirst for superiority, is enough for a few to seek help in shamans, witches, and people who have learned to manage the energies, so that in alliance with them, they end up spiritually hitting the other. But our being is able to read these intentions and warn us early of what that person is actually trying to do, asking us to get away from that environment or that specific person. From the moment that it is gestating in the minds of these people, the only idea of attacking you and trying to take away your shine, the vibration of that person emits a message to the universe, one that it transmits to our soul, as if given a warning to seek to rescue their being. This alarm can be felt as a loud whistle, a short but acute one that ends up stressing our being, as it comes loaded with a warning of danger, which invites us to analyze what that person really wants for us. In addition to a warning message, this also represents a message of love, one that tells us how precious we are to the universe and the way our soul is always in contact with it. This noise is nothing more than a petition for us to wrap ourselves in light and positivism, so that everything that they do against us does not come to fear that desired effect, and we end up by overcoming that test. So in addition to feeling the contact with the universe and other planes, this whistle can also be an invitation to protect ourselves from the bad intentions of others. So if being with a particular person we feel this whisper coming, maybe it is time to analyze how beautiful it is to feel for us. Number 3. The energy of Kundalini. This is a type of energy that is strongly associated with the third eye and the corresponding chakra, so it is also linked to the ability to see beyond the simple that exists in the physical world. As we all know, between the other dimensions and us, there is a distance that can only be shortened through our soul, and the ability of our being to receive guidance and messages from higher realms. And the Kundalini energy tells us precisely how our being is aligned and perfected in a way that allows the universe to understand that we are open to receiving information and seeing far beyond the simple. This is a wonderful event, beautiful and full of opportunities, one that we can only take advantage of if we accept and embrace the moment of its manifestation, which can be announced by that noise in the ears that today brings us together to explore among knowledge. Your being may be strongly called to receive important guidance and messages from the universe and the elevated realms above ours, so it seeks to guide you to it through that noise, which may seem annoying to many. The beginning of this awakening can be very subtle, and to make in our body we experience a forming that goes through our whole body. At the same time, we feel that beyond the physical, there is a strong energies gelling us, so it is for some quite simple to specify. But for those who are not so easy to understand or accept this, and who are currently experiencing that noise in their ears, the call right now is to understand from a more open perspective what is happening to them, and flow with that energy of change and tuning to higher vibrational frequencies. The window of opportunity that opens in front of those who manage to experience this moment of awakening and enlighten themselves by the light that the Kundalini energy releases is simply great, powerful, and beneficial. So do not hesitate to let this force flow through your whole being and let your soul flow with it, because the results of this will be wonderful. Your being will be nourished, and the world will begin to take a form, a more real and beautiful one. So if you feel this noise in your ears and suddenly experience loud calls from your intuition, you may be one of the lucky ones who is growing from the moment of awakening that causes this energy to activate in us. If that is the case, we also invite you to put some of your effort into developing this energy within you, making it grow and perfect. Number 4, the influence of electronic devices. Although we often want to ignore what our behavior causes in ourselves and how bad habits imbalance the perfect balance of our being, we cannot overlook the way certain actions of ours end up affecting us in the worst way. While the human being was created in a state of perfection and well-being, certain factors that have been created by man's hand affect us in the worst way, and we end up externalizing the damage they do to us in most unexpected ways. This is precisely what happens to us in the case of electronic artifacts, such as phones, computers, mini-players and others, which, without consciously knowing it, affect us greatly. The energy waves that these devices emit end up colliding with ours, thanks to the repeated and indiscriminate use of these devices, managing to make the human being resent their use in the strangest forms, and precisely that whispering in the ears is one of those strange forms. There is not a single person at present who can say that he does not make use of electrical artifacts, but ultimately, there are very punctual cases in which this is taken to the extreme, and even seemed that more than a means of distraction or work, these artifacts were a complete obsession for the being. But this noise in the ears, it can involve a strong call of attention not to allow obsessions like these to become lethal to our energy and the perfect vibrational balance in which our being was created. This seems to be more common in very young people, but it is a reality from which people of all ages, and even children, do not seem to escape, who now seem to live exposed to the use of these equipment and to even need them to be able to carry out any kind of recreational and student activity. And we must not confuse the call to reduce the use of these artifacts with some kind of campaign in which technological advances are satanized, but we must see this as a strong call to consciousness and to seek the balance between these things and the natural. A good tactic to find the balance again is to limit with times the use of electrical devices, both in ourselves and in our families. But this is in a preventive way, because if you already experience that annoying noise due to this external factor, the most logical thing is that we seek to compensate for the damage caused. In these cases, we can seek to maintain contact with the natural, which will deprive our body of the influence of these vibrations and electromagnetic waves, so it is propitious to look for a space to go to a place where we can be in pure contact with nature, completely devoid of these equipment. Although many have some reluctance to get rid of these equipment, when experiencing again that touch of light and energy that gives nature will have been worth it, and you will notice how the energy of the natural begins to run again through our being, restoring us to that precious state of well-being. Number 5. The circulation of malicious jokes and comments. When we find ourselves faced with these noises in the left ear, and sometimes in both hearing channels, we tend to think from good to first that it may be some kind of disease or infection, but very rarely we consider certain energy factors that end up influencing. And with this, we do not refer, as in the previous point, to objects and factors that are in our environment, but rather to energies that circle in it and want to be silent enemies, not knowing that our soul is so perfect that it manages to detect immediately its presence and its influence. This is what ends up happening when we talk about the malicious jokes and comments that some people emit about us, which represent an energy that very few would like to perceive, but finally manage to hit us a little. It is more than clear that jokes and comments of this kind can only take on us the power that we ourselves allow it to take. For a person who is a high state of consciousness understands that these comments, rather than talking about his person and the way he walks through life, end up talking about the being who creates and spreads them. We cannot hold on to what others want to say about us and our walking, because each one is immersed in a reality and a completely different process from those around him. So it is very unwise to judge from the outside what people in our environment are experiencing, and based on what they decide to take the determinations that we see them executing. The external factors and the people that coexist around us actually have no influence about us and our energy, but in order for their energy not to intrude into our lives, it is necessary that we protect our being from their comments. If we are aware that even fools are an integral part of our life and our reality, we also understand that we cannot avoid them, but that these are moments when the opportunity becomes present, and it is necessary to take advantage of the knowledge and strength that these circumstances make us develop. That is why, rather than being afraid to be wrong or what they will say if at some point we fall, it is important that we see our life as a mountain, which has rises and descents, but which ultimately leads to the long, awaited final destiny that is evolution and perfection. Life was made to live it without fear, much less by what others will say. And although, as I comment, these things speak a lot more about the person who lets out the words that seek to hurt others, so beyond what they want to say, we must be firm in what we are and do. Our journey becomes wonderful at the same time as we choose to rely on the guides that our soul gives us and completely erase the noise from the outside, focusing completely on your inner voice and the process that we are going through. Number 6. Warnings of negative energies. While negative energies include jokes in their classification, these are not the only way they manifest themselves, but can also arise from actions as simple as one negative thought towards another. Many times we do not become fully aware of how our being generates energy in a continuous and involuntary way. And when we stop focusing on the good that happens to us and others, and choose to focus on the negative and not so beautiful aspects, it is when it begins to generate a negative energy capable of contaminating everything in us and around us. Even a thought out of anger can generate a negative energy capable of taking away brightness from us and subtly hit the other, because it depends on the other part that so will be allowed to be affected by that energy. And this is just to talk about the mildest and more sensible parts of this dark energy. But the truth is that there are people who live with deep resentment and anger towards others, when the recipients of these energies actually don't even know or are aware of it. But the universe is perfect and hides nothing, so in these cases, or in the face of the bad intentions that are generated in one person to another, it ends up giving warning to our souls and allowing that energy that emanates from the negative part to be a warning for our being of what is hidden behind facades. That is why if the noise occurs when we are close to a particular person, or even when we're in a particular place, we should take it as a warning that in that person or space rotates a very strong negative energy capable of hitting everyone who is close, but especially us. It is important to listen to intuition and not let this kind of warnings go unnoticed, for they are wonderful signals of the universe and of our soul that seek to guide us to safe paths and to get away completely from the negative factors that only manage to interfere with our being and his walk. Let us be grateful at this time for the warnings that are being given to us and that seek to protect us, because we are blessed to be able to experience these things and to know that we are so perfectly aligned with the universe that we can get it to transmit to us the information we need at all times. Let us not silence that inner voice that tells us everything that we consciously do not see, because by letting it guide us, our being can reach unthinkable places and save us the hassle of dealing with people and events that do not contribute anything to our process. Number 7. You have reached a point where it becomes imperative to take a great determination. And it is that not everything can be negative, and many times that famous whistle is nothing more than a warning of the crucial moment that is coming in our days, as a kind of premonition of the important event that is going to come before you, and that will make you use all the capacity of your being to discern about what is right. Some people come to forget the fact that we were not merely thrown into this plane to shake, but that we find ourselves in company of thousands of other souls and millions of light beings who inhabit the different dimensions and obey a profound impulse of collaboration and support of the life forms. So they do not hesitate to take action when a soul needs support on a stretch of its path. And it is not necessary for any person to have requested help, and much less, you do not even have to be aware of the existence of these beings, for the only requirement to receive this support is to require help, for only then will these elevated beings come to you to provide you with the backing and the lights you need. So far beyond what we call intuition, there is a great and wonderful universe that, along with the different souls and life forms it houses, ends up helping all those who inhabit it. Well, despite the fact that some perceive the place in which we live as a hostile space that always seeks to help us evolve and all that we have set ourselves up. Understanding this is that we can observe the ringing in the ears as a symptom of a moment of determination, but not a simple, but a decision that is capable of changing the course of our lives or even the reality in which we live. Since many times your decisions seem to be very simple, and reality have a deep meaning, so we are called to stop and evaluate with greater caution what we will do or respond. And it's that, as mentioned at another point, every dimension, every plane, and every realm is aligned with a different vibrational frequency. And that's why when we receive help, messages, and information from them, we tend to feel them as a sudden noise, usually on the left side, which is found strong associated with receiving information from the universe and higher realms. There is not a single moment of turning back in which we are alone, or that we cease to be observed by those guides, allied entities and beings of light that accompany us, and in fragments push us to that long-awaited evolution of our soul. So when you are faced with determinations that make you whisper your ears, understand that you are entities, spirits and angels who ask you to be cautious and take the decision that belongs to you calmly and serenely, because this could be much more important than you think. Always listen to the signals of the universe and do not let yourself be led by external opinions, because every stretch of that wonderful path you pass is designed for you to triumph and align with your true essence, thus achieving to be more full beings. Number 8. Your soul is changing to align with higher frequencies. Our main goal when we descend to Earth is to evolve, which is why our being walks trusting in every stretch of the way, falling and rising up to learn everything necessary to be able to access higher realms and thus to greater rewards. But this evolution does not just come from one moment to another, but it involves a deep commitment to ourselves and many uncomfortable sections in which we are called to get out of our comfort zone and experience the world in a different way, succeeding in learning to manage the energies that move in our universe and that surround us without many times being able to perceive them. This will necessarily imply that our being must begin to vibrate in a different way, changing its thinking, its feeling and its expression, to seek that you are tuned to higher energies, and in turn to the planes of this vibration. We all desire access to better things, to a greater amount of knowledge, and to the unlocking of skills that allow us to make our reality and our walk a much more harmonious and fluid one, in which the manifestations of the desired are something common, and that in turn our soul can see fulfilled its purpose on earth. But although many take the path of inner work and seek this elevation, it is not always so easy for them to determine the way in which change is presented, or when they have actually managed to approach that precious goal and may enter moments of despair or deep disappointment. But what very few know is that the ringing in the ears can end up being a powerful symptom that your inner work is yielding fruit, and that long-awaited goal is about to materialize, and is that vibration changes produce in us that ringing that sometimes comes to be persistent and recurrent, but that more than shocking can present itself as a short and precise notification of what is happening in us. The variations in our vibrating and our energy are quite common, for as we ourselves take conscious determinations and release certain habits, our being depurates of energies and loads and begins to gradually rise to new vibrational levels, and this is something that we not only appreciate at this point, but is also very connected with the next. Number 9. You have an energy imbalance. As has been said, our conscious determinations lead us to experience various changes within ourselves. Some that, not being of a physical type, are a little more disturbing and difficult to recognize, as is the case with the whistle in the ears in relation to energy variations. Our being is made up of energy. It is making us align with the forces that are capable of manifesting what we desire, or in other cases, the things that we have. So it is necessary to calibrate it with what we really desire for our lives and with what generates us well-being. And it is that we must understand the balance of the energies of the being as a state of health, from which we obtain the desired and keep floating in the midst of the waters of reality. But that balance can end up being broken, as well as our health in relation to the physical body, and in both cases presents its symptoms and signs, which are aimed at attracting our attention, and that we take the necessary corrections. The noise in the ears can be not only a sign of physical discomfort, but also of a profound energy imbalance that is affecting us at the moment, and that can result in catastrophic consequences because energy should not be taken at any time as a matter to the light, as it rules many aspects of our being that are crucial for our existence. But just like it happens in other aspects of us, this is something correctable that ends up requiring a little support on our part and a firm commitment to internal work, from which we turn our unhappiness into well-being and opportunities for change for our reality. Every time we present a major alteration in our energy, we will encounter this noise, and our being will react, seeking to draw our attention to the specific part that is affected, which is a further demonstration of how we were perfectly created to live well and have everything we need within reach of our hands. Number 10. The connection with the angels opens up for you. Angels are important beings in the history of mankind, and since ancient times they have been seen as heavenly beings that come to humans to provide their touches of light, love, compassion and support, making the reality in which we live a closer portrait of those we desire and for which our Creator has prepared us. No one has come to this world to live in lack, and much less in eternal suffering, but despite the destiny that our Creator has given us, our actions are able to lead us far from the path of success and fullness, distorting the perfect way in which we were created and aligned with the right. And if there is something certain, is that our souls are always assisted by these wonderful beings who are far above many of the predominant aspects of our reality, such as selfishness, hatred, anger, fear and resentment. So if vibration is configured in a different form than ours, so hearing their messages at certain moments can feel like a bell in our ears. As well as we know, the angels can speak in all known languages, and they know how to adapt their words and messages to the level of understanding of anyone, being able to touch any soul that lives on this plane and help in the most critical moments. Do not give up for defeated. However, the barrier we must cross in order to reach these messages of encouragement, love and hope is the vibrational one. For if we do not calibrate our being and our ear with the right and highest frequencies, we will not be able to understand what is being said to us. But we should not be discouraged if we fail to do it from good to good, because everything in life takes its time and its investment of effort, especially this kind of matters that are connected with the being and the celestial energies that inhabit the universe. As our desire and commitment is, our being will be positioning itself in a proper vibration, and that message will become more and more clear and concise, and those angelic voices will become a beautiful part of our lives. So take this sound as a premonition of divine joy and companionship. Number 11. You are about to experience a spiritual and conscious awakening. There is not a single person who knows of the spiritual path and does not wish to experience this precious moment of elevation, from which it seems that our being wakes up to understand the world and the entire universe in its true form. Due to various factors, the human being has been immersed in the unconscious and in a dynamic of life in which superfluous matters are given greater importance than those that really have a significant weight in our existence. Some spend their lives trying to cultivate the qualities to which our being should actually be oriented, and doing a deep cleansing of the energies that make us, all with the intention of reaching that magical point where we are called to see things in their true form and to know the mysteries that surround our existence and that of creation. Just imagine for a second that all the mysteries of the universe have been revealed to you in a short period of time, and that you are able to see from one moment to the next the way everything in the universe works, even what you did not understand or know. Everything opens before you so that you can see what is behind bars and use it in your favor. From this moment, your being begins to walk with a different step, and magically everything flows in the best way for you. But it is not really magic. It is you who has connected with the energies of the universe and the strength of your soul. You recognize all that is within you. You really see the strength and abilities that were sleeping in the deepest corners of you, and you are given the opportunity to use them for your benefit and for the benefit of the whole universe. For now, this will also be a priority for you, just as humanity will become a precious treasure that you seek to care for and raise. All this seeks to make you a better person and a better version of yourself, but it will also open the doors to opportunity and the enlightenment of part of true knowledge and light. There are no closed doors for those who wake up in consciousness, and this magical moment comes for everyone, being announced by that noise, in the ears that tells you that your being is tuning up the higher frequencies. Number 12. It's a premonition of good fortune. To close with this list in a hopeful way, we find ourselves with the wonderful opportunity to explain this phenomenon after a premonition of good fortune and happiness for your life, for even these matters are able to be detected by our soul. From the very moment that our being begins to align with the positive energies, a change in our reality starts to gestate, and even if it does not come in an immediate form, it is undoubtedly a transformation that is felt at an energy level. And as this new reality is ready and approaches our lives, we will be able to feel with greater strength the way it becomes present, which our soul is capable of detecting, and which it seeks to share with your conscious side. And the way to do this is to draw our attention through these whispers, which in turn combine more than one message in them. The important energy changes in our lives, our change of vibration, and the alterations that are installed in our environment take such dimensions that they end up generating these calls of warning, which rather than being something bad, invite us to prepare and extend our arms to the immense blessing that will fall on us. Every aspect of a person's life ends up changing from your inner work, and that precious moment when they become part of our reality is something that many do not expect, but do not do it because they do not know how to hear the signals that the universe and their being provide them. The noise in our ears is a notification that comes to our being of how the realities we face in the various aspects of our lives are going to change, and how there will be not one single thing that will make you live in discomfort. Although the bad things are precious and manage to shake our being, the good ones also have this ability, and they do so even with greater force. So let's pay attention, because a simple whistle can be the premonition of greatness and good fortune for us. And if you feel that this is what might be making you experience these whistles, I'd like you to say it in the comment section. Otherwise, you can tell us what you think is causing that internal ringtone, and if you feel that this content has helped you, please give me a like, and do not hesitate to share with people who feel they need to know this information. I remind you that you can join this channel and thus explore with our hand the seas of true knowledge, and that by enabling notifications, you can keep up to date with the new additions. This is an open space where you can nurture in knowledge. So welcome, and I hope to see you at our upcoming meetings. Although for the time being the time is exhausted, we say goodbye with the certainty of a forthcoming meeting, and I send you a sea of blessings to your life.